It's Saturday morning at 10 a.m., so you know what that means. It's time for What's Up, Ocala? With tens of thousands of viewers every month on our YouTube channel and millions so far on TikTok, we are joined by our host, local owner, and broker of Great Expectations Realty, Andrea Praber.
Good morning and welcome to What's Up, Ocala. I'm your host, Andrea Praber, and today we are going to jump right in it because we have a lot of information to go over. And I think that we really need to talk about some detailed real estate things that you can do that may help your retirement. So, all right, let's jump into it. If you've glanced at your retirement account lately and thought, oh my goodness, what in the world? You're not alone. There are a lot of people that are very nervous right now. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Well, you've probably heard President Trump is back in office and he is not pulling any punches. He recently dropped reciprocal tariffs. Okay, what in the world? What are you talking about? I know, tariffs. We keep seeing this. What is it? Basically, they're saying if you're going to charge us, we're going to charge you. Whether you agree with that or not, that's what's going on. So this isn't like a small amount. This isn't like a couple of dollars here and there. We're talking over $2 trillion worth of imports. And yeah, that's trillion with a T on it. So he even slapped a 145% tariff on goods from China. Whoa. As you can imagine, the stock market, it did not take that news well. That definitely threw a lot of people for a loop. There are a lot of companies that are on the stock market that just didn't even know what to think. So the S&P 500 dropped more than 10% in early April. So earlier this month, 10% drop, especially tech stocks. Especially anything tied to any kind of tech stocks and exports. Of course, exports got hammered. Companies, especially like NVIDIA, which had been an incredibly amazing company to invest in, they lost billions with a B, billions of dollars overnight. Billions. More than one. More like 5 or 6. Yeah, they're already kind of, having some issues with the AI hype and stuff. The Fed, it's weighing in on stuff too. Chair Jeremy Powell recently warned that all of this could push us toward stagflation. What on earth is stagflation? It is a nasty mix of rising prices and slow growth. So it's like the economic equivalent of trying to run a marathon while having a cold. It's like, can you do it? Yeah. Do you want to? Not really. Yeah, it's not fun. We're also seeing really big trouble in retail, except March saw a huge rush of consumer spending because a whole slew of people were trying to beat the tariff hikes. I happen to know quite a few people, including my co-host on Good Morning Ocala, who was doing the same thing. He's like, I got to buy the top of the line cell phones now because, tariffs are kicking in. So, there's a lot of that stuff going on. It was like Black Friday for everything, even like stuff like washing machines, like everything, because there's so much global uncertainty. So investors like Ray Dalio are pointing out how this is driving companies to rethink where they are manufacturing things. More companies are pulling, out completely of China, which is really affecting their entire economy because a lot of their economy has a lot to do with, they're selling things to the United States for cheap, no tariffs. So a lot of those companies are now wanting to leave China and they're wanting to set up closer to home. Europe is also scrambling. Over 70 countries are begging for tariff exemptions, and the market is still kind of holding its breath. Every new headline that comes out is affecting the numbers. Every new possibility of a tariff, every rumor or gossip that's hitting the news, it's all affecting your bottom line. What does it mean for your portfolio? Well, in a word, volatility. It's a roller coaster ride, folks. One day you're up, the next day you're down, and the next day it's a nosedive, and retirement accounts are tied up in stocks and they're just getting whiplash. So is it a good time for stocks? Is it a bad time for stocks? We're going to get into it. It is a tough time to just sit back and hope the market calms down. I know. It is. It's your life savings. It's your retirement. It's your way to retire with dignity, and you're seeing all of that security just disappear. So I get it. But right now, we're going to go ahead and shift gears a little, and we're going to talk about what you can do to be proactive and protect your retirement, and maybe even grow it, even with this wild market that we've got going on. More and more people are looking into self-directed IRAs, or they also call them SDIRAs. And they're using them to invest in something that feels a little more solid these days. Like, I don't know, real estate. You're like, wait a minute, how in the world do you have an IRA and real estate? That doesn't go together, does it? But it does. If you've never heard of a self-directed IRA, let me break it down for you. It's just exactly like your regular IRA or 401k, whatever, except you have way more freedom and a lot more control. You're not stuck choosing between, just stocks and bonds and, that kind of thing, all those mutual funds. You don't have to do that. You can, of course, still do that, but you can also use real estate for your financial freedom as well. You can invest in houses, duplexes, raw land, heck, even a little rental cabin in the Smokies if you wanted. If that's your thing, go for it. There are huge, huge tax benefits to having a real estate property versus a tax, a stock or a bond or something like that. It's a huge tax shelter to have these real estate, especially if you go the Roth route. Just saying. With a Roth self-directed IRA, your rental income and any gains are tax-free. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Free. Nada. Zip. With a traditional self-directed IRA, you still get to defer taxes until you retire. Either way, it doesn't really matter. That is a whole lot better than watching the news and watching your retirement just ride the wave of the Wall Street waves. I mean, it's not fun. I'm not a surfer, and I don't know if you are, but that sounds scary. There's a reason I'm not a surfer. Because that is just not fun. And the Wall Street waves, you're not going to hang 10 anytime soon. Real estate is a natural hedge against inflation. It's a tangible asset. There's no tariff that's going to suddenly make your rental property worth 20% less overnight. Plus, you get more control. Did I mention the control aspect? So as somebody that is a little bit of a control freak, I greatly appreciate that. If you want to buy a rental in Marion County or grab a lot to maybe build on later, you're not going to be waiting around for a fund manager in New York to tell you, what to do or how to do it. And you're not going to be told, what to do with your money. It's up to you. But you're like, I don't really want to manage all of that. You still can have a property manager. I can promise you, many of the properties that we manage are in self-directed IRAs. That's how I know about it. So here's the basic process of how you get this done. You open a self-directed IRA with a custodian that specializes in this stuff. You really, really want to have somebody that knows what they're doing. Think Equity Trust, Forge Trust, or IRA Financial. Okay. You roll over your funds, in part or full, whatever, roll over your funds from your existing 401k or IRA, and you could just do a direct rollover, which is way cleaner and avoids taxes, or you can do an indirect one if you're very, 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 very careful with the 60-day window. Like really careful. Like have it all lined up ahead of time, okay? There's no redos. what happens when you have all that set up? Like, what's the next step? You've got the paperwork down pat. What do? That's when you start shopping. You're going to be on MLS. You're going to be on auctions. You're going to be on off-market deals. It's all on the table. When you buy, you fill out a simple direction of investment form. All expenses must be paid from the self-directed IRA. And all of the income from those rentals goes right into the self-directed IRA. It goes back in. No touchy, okay? No touching your personal bank account at all, okay? So this is a big one. Don't use the property personally, okay? There's no, let me just stay on it, let me just stay there for like a weekend. No. Not for a weekend, not for a day, not for an hour. Like, no, it is not personal property in any way, shape, or form. Don't hire your brother-in-law to mow the lawn. That's called a prohibited transaction, and the IRS does not play with that kind of stuff. So there are certain things you can do, and there are certain things you can't do, okay? Don't mess around with it. But if you do it correctly, it can be amazing. If you need to finance a property, you're going to need a non-recourse loan, meaning the IRA owns the property and the lender can't come after you personally. It gets better and better, right? It keeps everything very clean for tax purposes. Remember how I mentioned that having real estate can be a massive tax shelter? I'm not even joking. Even if it's in an IRA, still amazing. So why now? Well, Florida's got one of the highest foreclosure rates in the country. And you're like, that doesn't sound good. That sounds bad. Yeah, but it's in very specific pockets. Right now, in very specific areas, 1 in every 3,612 homes is in foreclosure. That means there are deals to be had. And if you're using a self-directed IRA, you're often buying in cash, which puts you in a great position when you're purchasing compared to people that are relying on financing or, traditional mortgages. They have to have very specific things that the house has. It's very specific. It's not like you can just buy anything. You cannot buy a shack with a mortgage normally. Speaking of mortgages, rates are hovering right around 6%, 7%. I know a lot of buyers are like freaking out. They're like, that is really tough. I don't even know. But taking out loans can be great for self-directed IRA investors because, they're bringing the cash to the table. So, there's a lot that you're going to be able to do with that cash because of that. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this, okay? Real estate in a self-directed IRA is a longer term play. So if you're thinking this is only going to be for a year or two, no. And it's not as liquid as stocks. So you got to plan ahead. That's a lot of the reason some investors only use a portion. They park some of it in a real estate investment trust and some of it in their own. It depends on how much of a control freak they are, really. At least that's what I've seen. Some keep, cash in the IRA just to kind of stay a little bit flexible. Either way, it really just depends. Always, always, always talk to a tax advisor and or a self-directed IRA specialist before making any moves. Do not fill out any paperwork for this until you've talked to them, because there are rules. And like I said, the IRS doesn't play. Okay, they will happily, very happily hit you with penalties if you cross the line, whether it was intentional or not. They don't care. They're not going to play around with this. But there is an upside. It's real. You're putting your retirement into something you can actually drive by and see with your own eyes. It's not a stock, and it's not in something somebody else has control of. You actually have a tangible evidence of your retirement sitting there. So if the stock market's got you a little bit queasy, or if you just want to feel more in control of your financial future, I'm just saying a self-directed IRA might be your ticket. Let me give you A real world example, like I said, being in property management and working with a lot of investors over the years and currently, I've seen all of this firsthand. That's actually who told me about it the first time was an investor. They're like, oh yeah, I've got a self-directed IRA. And I'm like, in real estate? Let me look into this. But we're going to say I talked to Joe because we're not going to use names here. But Joe had his money sitting in a traditional IRA. He was riding that stock market roller coaster. And he was spazzing, like straight up spazzing. Every time the news dinged, he's checking his balance. He's going into panic mode. It wasn't pretty, okay? Nobody needs that level of stress in their life, okay? You're supposed to, for investments, you put it in there and you forget about it. And then, when you go to use the money, it's there. Whatever. We sat down, Joe and I, we looked at his goals. That's first and foremost when you're investing. Like, what are the goals? What are we hoping to achieve? And then we figured out how to move a portion into a self-directed IRA. So Joe bought a single family rental here in Marion County. Great little 3-bedroom, 2-bath, double car garage, cookie cutter home. Great location, close to a lot of, work and job opportunities and stuff. So of course tenants want it. Had a fenced in yard, the kind, the thing that people really want to rent. So the rent goes straight into his self-directed IRA. There's a little bit of additional paperwork for me each year. Perfectly fine. The property is managed. That's why I get the paperwork. Joe, what does he get? He gets to sleep much better at night. It's nothing flashy either. It's not crypto. It's not, the biggest, greatest, wonderful, most whatever. No, it's pretty basic. It's still an investment, but it's consistent. And right now, that kind of consistency, that's like a superpower. That's amazing. So, how do you spot a good self-directed IRA investment property? Well, here's where I come in. Don't get anything fancy. Don't do it. This is not something where you're going to get bigger, better, or whatever, okay? Find a good property. You're going to find a boring property, truthfully. I mean, there's a lot of new construction that is selling very, very inexpensively, and then that comes with warranties. And yeah, you want this property to be reliable because you're not flipping. You're not doing anything fancy. You're not gambling with your life savings in any way, shape, or form. You're getting something boring, okay? You're investing for long-term wealth. So when we go out looking for this, we look for really good deals, really stable homes in neighborhoods that maybe not they're, the hottest, greatest, the trendiest, whatever, stable. That's what we want. Neighborhoods that have stood the test of time and people request to, find rentals in that area year after year, low maintenance properties. So you're not going to have something with English gardens in it and huge HOAs. That's not what we're doing. You may want to find something that needs a little bit of work. So if we don't do new construction, maybe we'll look at something that needs a roof or something like that. That might be a good option because not every buyer has the ability to do that. Not every seller has the ability to do that. We're going to look at, the schools, the work situation, how easy is it to jump on I-75? Like all of these things factor in. So when people are moving here and they need a home and they want to rent, yours is the one, okay? If you're not comfortable with, hunting down deals for yourself, if you're not like the Zillow warrior over there, that's totally fine. That's what real estate pros like me are here for. And I have a whole team of them ready to help. We know the neighborhoods, we know the rental comps, we know the good, the bad, and the overhyped. So do not just go into one particular builder and that one particular salesperson because, of course, they're going to say that their neighborhood is best. That's the only one they can sell in. Maybe not doing a self-directed IRA with a fixer-upper because you can't do the work yourself. You're not going to try and save money that way. The IRS says absolutely no self-dealing. That means you can't work on the property. Your relatives can't work on the property. You're not going to try and save money that way. If you want to do something like that, do it with your regular money, your regular investment money, not your retirement money. Okay, this is a separate thing entirely. There's no hiring your cousin to paint the living room. Everything has to go through an arm's length transaction, which is why most people that have a self-directed IRA have a property management company, because then it proves they have an arm's length transaction with the vendors and all expenses are paid from the self-directed IRA and to the self-directed IRA. So what happens if you accidentally break the rules? You're really in trouble. You really, really, really don't want to do that. The entire IRA could be considered distributed and taxed. Plus, depending on your age, penalties. You don't want to do that. Okay, so that's why I always say work with professionals. This can work and it's very simple and it's very easy to do, but you want to work with professionals and ask first. It's much better to be safe by calling your tax guy than calling your tax guy in a panic because you did something after the fact and he can't undo what you just did. Okay. It's not fun. All right, let's talk local for a second, because what's happening in Florida real estate right now is a little bananas. We've got a little bit of weird going on all over the place, like condos, because of, the new laws that are affecting condos. Condos are going for pennies on the dollar. They're up for sale everywhere. We've got that weird little storm brewing with the rising foreclosures. We've got those higher mortgage rates, the interest rates, and a lot of the out-of-state investors are looking for deals. So we have sharks swimming in the waters while you're catching that wave. So there is a sweet spot here for buyers with cash or self-directed IRA funds, because you're going to be able to compete with those other sharks. You get to be one of the sharks instead of one of the prey. I'm seeing investors scoop up properties under market value just because sellers are panicking, or they're, the houses are sitting on the market longer, or they're competing with new construction. It's just kind of a little difficult right now because there's fewer buyers in the market than there have been in previous years. And some of these homes are actually really nice. I mean, they may need a coat of paint, but that's about it. You just put a solid tenant in there, you're good to go. And here in Florida, you've got some really strong tenant demand and a very owner-friendly state. So people are really interested in that. And people keep moving here. Okay, I just did a report last week about how there is like 250 people a week moving to Ocala. That's crazy. Okay, we are the number one city in the entire nation for U-Haul moving to. That's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. But a lot of them are not looking to buy. These people are looking for rentals. They don't know the area. They're not sure about their job because they just got there. What if they don't like their coworkers? They don't know the neighborhoods. They want a clean, safe rental property that, is similar to what they've had at home. They just, they're great tenants. They maybe have owned a home for the last 10 years. They're just not quite ready to buy, or it's just an overwhelming process. Especially when headlines are flying and the market's bouncing all over the place. I mean, they're feeling the same thing you are. So they're looking for maybe a little bit more stability, or they just want to make sure that they're making the right choice. So rentals are still high in demand here. Here's the thing. Tools are out there to help you get off the Wall Street treadmill and to actually build something. And this is one of them. All right. I would highly, highly, highly recommend. I don't want to bore you into details. I don't want to bore you to death, but it is something I desperately really want more people to know about, because self-directed IRAs give you a lot more control. They let you diversify, and they open up a whole world beyond just stocks and bonds. So if you are stuck thinking that Roth IRA or that 401k is what it is and that's all there is, you are wrong. I need you to look into this. It doesn't matter if you're 65 or 35, whether you've got a huge 401k or just a little rollover IRA that's just sitting there doing nothing. This is your sign. This is your chance to do a little research, talk to someone you trust, find out what your money could actually do and what it really could be doing for you. Because there's a lot more out there than you could possibly know. And these are the kind of secrets that the rich know. If you talk to them about a self-directed IRA, or if you talk to them about a 1031 exchange, they know it and they've done it. And hey, if you ever want to chat about what it might look like in your specific situation, if you're just not even sure, even if you're not wanting to do self-directed IRA, maybe you just want to do a regular investment, I would love to help. That's what I do. That's literally what I do. So many people watch my videos and they're like, wow, that's such great information. And then they go and purchase a house from my competitors and they're like, yeah, it's so great. Thanks so much for your help. It really helped my real estate agent too. And I'm like, thanks. Like, I don't even know how to answer that. Just keep in mind, I'm here to help. So please let me know if you need some help or if you have questions. If I can help, I will. And if I can't help, I'll get you over to the resources, get you to somebody that can help you. You have no idea how many people I know. It's insane. So yeah, if you're interested in something like that, it doesn't even have to be in Florida. If you're just interested in information, I would be more than happy to help you with that. If you want to explore, maybe talk to a custodian like Forge Trust or IRA Financial, anything like that, you want to talk to a CPA or anything, just let me know. I got a guy for that. I always got a guy for that. So just let me know what you need and I will definitely hook you up with the right person. And if it's just real estate that you need help with, I mean, hint, hint, I happen to know somebody like right here. Oh, goodness. It had to be said. I never know what to say when people say stuff like that. So I don't know. Hopefully this helped and you're going to look into it. And you know what? If it does help you and you get some confidence to go ahead and, stay ahead of the money game out there, I'm thrilled. I really am thrilled. And I'm really grateful that I get to help you even a little bit because I did this video for you. So, all right, real quick. This is end of April 2025. And there are some fun things. We got Becky Baby was playing at the Square last night. And then tonight they're doing another concert. It's not Becky Baby, but they are doing another concert tonight and it's free. And let's see, there's also the Home and Garden Show over at the World Equestrian Center this weekend. And the weather is going to be awesome. Okay, the splash pads are open all over town. The pools have not opened yet. They normally open Memorial Day weekend, but, even though it's hot, the splash pads are open. I know Tuscaloosa Park is getting a little bit of work done, so it might not be open right now in full, but I know the splash pads are open. So just go out there, enjoy the place that you live. Even if you don't live here in Ocala, hopefully you can get out and enjoy some of the really great places and hidden gems that are in your town. So, all right, that's it for us. Hopefully you enjoyed this show and you weren't completely and totally bored with the information. I tried to make it as, basic as possible and not get into the nitty-gritty details overboard, but at the same time, you got to have some meat to it too, right? I don't know. It's a hard tightrope to walk sometimes, especially with only 30 minutes. This has been a great, great fun show for me. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We will be back next week. Same time, same place, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or other, go ahead and hit us up. GER.expectmore@gmail.com and let us know how we can help. All right. Talk soon. Bye.
You've been listening to What's Up, Ocala? Follow us all week on Andrea Praber's YouTube channel and TikTok. We'll see you next week at 10 a.m. on What's Up, Ocala.